Mr. President, I've always said that our nation's current healthcare system is in need of repair. And most things that we do here, that's why we keep coming back to try to fix it and make it better. But every West Virginian deserves access to quality, affordable health care. And I am very concerned our country is at risk of moving backward instead of forward. When people ask, why did I vote against repealing the health care law? I always say it's because we need to make sure those with pre-existing conditions don't go bankrupt paying for basic health care. Most people today, if they don't have insurance, and especially those who've had pre-existing insurance, are one health care crisis away from bankruptcy. What's happening today is an unfortunate political move. The only reason this lawsuit, and I say that again, the only reason this lawsuit is moving forward is because my friends on the other side have failed more than 50 times trying to repeal it. And on top of that, the tax cut bill that just went through had this in it, repealing basically the mandate on the health care, which throws it in a turmoil and is why we're in a lawsuit right now. Right now, 20 U.S. Attorney Generals, including the Attorney General from West Virginia, are suing to allow insurance companies to once again deny coverage to West Virginia with pre-existing conditions. Every single time they voted for repeal, this is exactly what they were trying to achieve. What makes this worse is we have a bipartisan compromise led by Senator Alexander and Senator Murray with 12 Republicans and 12 Democrats. This bill includes important steps that will help reduce health care costs for West Virginia families. And this agreement shows what is possible when we put people before politics. What we did is after the last repeal on the floor failed, we got together and we put a fix in. We have a reinsurance program. We have a way to maintain and try to educate people how they would use their health care, their newfound wealth in health care, in a more effective and efficient way. And this is what we should be doing, but nope, there's a political promise to repeal, so we keep doing every angle there is being thrown at us. And now this last one, as far as going through the court system and then having also the judicial system being involved to stop this horrible scourge on the people of my state and all across the country. Let me tell you how many West Virginians are impacted. With a state with a little over 1,800,000, this one move right here, this one move affects 800,000 West Virginians. We're talking with people that have all types of things that could be pre-existing, have a child with a heart defect, asthma, you name it, they're going to be able to say, I'm sorry, pre-existing, we're not going to insure you. Or the cost will be so high you can't afford it. So we're impacting too many West Virginians. On Monday, I asked them to share their stories with me and my office, people, real people, that you can put a face and a name and a story and also some empathy to this. So I'm going to read a few letters, if I may, Mr. President. I have one from Kim Kramer from Parkersburg. She says, Dear Senator Manchin, again, I find myself writing to plead for a sane policy related to health care for my family, my friends, my community, my country, and myself. When healthcare policy is centered around quick profits at the cost of long-term health care of citizens, a medical tsunami is sure to follow. I live with my adult son who was born with Down syndrome. He is 33 and I'm 60. He is healthy for now, but does have a couple of pre-existing conditions and risk factors which could very possibly need attention as he grows older. The mere thought that I would have to pay out of pocket for his health care due to policy changes in the years to come is mind-boggling. Perhaps today his care is not exactly on the table, but it has been this past year and will most likely be again. I am at pre-retirement age. I work full-time and am in good health, but I take medication to maintain a healthy blood pressure. This is already a pre-existing condition. Medicare is still down the road for me. As a nurse, I know the importance of screening for certain conditions, but removing coverage of pre-existing conditions puts me in a very real catch-22 situation. If I go for recommended health screenings and a condition is found, I would be covered by my current insurance. If my employment situation should change, as it is possible for any of us, when I would have a pre-existing condition, that would either not be covered or make my premium so high that I would have to wonder if I will be able to provide for other basic needs, like appropriate housing. Many in my family, my circle of friends, my community, and my state would be in this terrible predicament. Any diagnosis would be a barrier to treatment in essence. No insurance company apparently wants to cover sick people. Makes me wonder why we would call it insurance at all. Perhaps in Washington, too many of you have lost touch with the very real stress and anxiety that is created when healthcare accessibility is unobtainable. Do any of you understand what it is like to live wondering when the medical tsunami will come? Because not having health care coverage is like that. You hope that the wave won't strike, but it's just beyond the horizon, and you have no idea if or when it is coming or how to survive it. The current mandate for coverage of pre-existing conditions assures better health and prevention treatments, better outcomes, and decreased expenses. It gives us all some peace of mind if we become ill and allows us to focus on getting healthy. Please care about our people. Please keep mandated coverage for pre-existing conditions. Thank you. I have Caitlin from Elkview. Dear Senator Manchin, I am a 22-year-old West Virginian who grew up in northern Kanawha County near Clendenin. I was diagnosed with anorexia when I was 13 and have struggled with it for years. I am thankful that the ACA created provisions that will allow me to remain on my parents' health insurance until I'm 26, but worry that my pre-existing condition could prevent me from getting insured in the future. Losing health insurance would mean me losing access to my mental health medication, as well as making it really difficult to access further treatment should I have a relapse. I also worry about how lack of coverage for my pre-existing condition could prevent me from affordable care in the future. I hope to devote my life to public service, which is very fulfilling, but does not pay well enough for me to afford to pay high medical bills. This is something that particularly worries me as I get older, and am thinking about whether I will be able to afford to start a family. I hope that you will continue to defend the Affordable Care Act, particularly its provisions that protect people with pre-existing conditions and women's health in general. Larry from Lewisburg. Shortly after being diagnosed with cancer in my mid-40s, the health insurance company that I paid for coverage went bankrupt. Faced with a pre-existing condition, I was uninsured until I began receiving Medicare about 20 years later, even though I had been therapeutically treated and had no symptoms or return of tumors for most of that time. An adult stepdaughter has MS, epilepsy, and multiple other health challenges. She works full-time, and the end of pre-existing condition insurance protection would be life-threatening to her. And my final letter is from Mary Claire from Brewston Mills. Dear Senator Manchin, my daughter was diagnosed with lupus shortly after Obamacare became reality. I was able to secure affordable health insurance to her from that day forward because of the Affordable Care Act. Lupus is an autoimmune disease that can, and eventually will, affect any part of the body at any time. An insurance company faced with underwriting my daughter simply will not insure her, ever, unless mandated by our government to cover pre-existing conditions. Simple as that. She has had multiple late-night trips to the emergency room that would have bankrupted her, and had she not been covered. Please do not forget her when you tell stories on the Senate floor. What we're asking, this is not Democrat or Republican, this is about all of us. We all face this in all of our states. And what we're saying is, this moving down this pathway, because of not enforcing that part of the Affordable Care Act, when we have a fix, truly a Democrat-Republican fix, bipartisan, led by Lamar Alexander, our senator from Tennessee, Patty Murray, our senator from the state of Washington. This is a shame. And when I say this is a tough place, especially when you have solutions to fixing problems that challenge all of us, that's all we're asking for, Mr. President. Please be considerate of these people. Please do not throw caution to the wind, throw the baby out with the bathwater, and 800,000 West Virginians who would lose their insurance. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.